This is the Greek New Testament from Cambridge, and it is the Tyndale House edition of the Greek New Testament. It comes in this grey imitation leather. Now, if we look at the spine here, you'll see along the side the title, and then the storygram, which is used as the symbol for the Tyndale Greek New Testament, and then the Cambridge logo, as well as this faux tooling on the side. Now, the material used for this cover is not convincing. It feels quite nasty and almost cardboardy as far as imitation leather goes. And that makes some sense because it is the cheapest edition of the Greek New Testament that Cambridge sells. It is quite horrible to the touch. Now, you see as we open it up, the corners here are very poorly done. It's not really a high effort attempt on Cambridge's part. But if, like me, you're actually looking for a Bible to rebind, then the cover material doesn't matter all that much. It may be indicative of the inside, and that's what we're going to find out. But if you're just going to keep the basic cover, you might want to consider the nicer leather options that Cambridge provides. Now let's get onto the text block itself, which is quite a different story. We'll start with this headband, which looks nice, and this ribbon is just beautiful. In strong Cambridge fashion, they have delivered an awesome double-sided satin ribbon, which if you rebind, you might even feel comfortable keeping. Opening up, we'll see this paste-down binding with this nice vinyl covering. And then we come to this blank page in this sort of thick cardstock. And then a nice presentation page here, which you can see is blank. You can do whatever you want with it, and I very much appreciate that. It's nice that you aren't limited to the publisher's opinions. Now we have this title page on this pretty nice, pretty thick paper. It's much thicker than normal Bible paper, and that's very, very nice. Looking to the page edges, you'll see this really quite beautiful gilding. This appears to be the same gilding they have on their higher-end leather editions, and that really sets this edition apart for rebinding, especially compared to things like the Crossway editions of the same text. And those don't have that edge gilding. This one is perhaps the cheapest Greek New Testament to feature edge gilding of this quality. For comparison, here's Zondervan's Reader's Edition, which does have edge gilding, but it looks much more inconsistent, much more speckled, and it has these nasty, sharp corners. It's just no comparison. Now, as we continue into the text block, we'll get this title page, and then this copyright page. You can see it's printed in Italy, and then this table of contents in Greek. And you may notice, because as I said, this is the Tyndale edition of the Greek New Testament, the order's a bit unusual. You have the Gospels here, then Acts, then the general epistles, and that's James through to Jude. And then after that you have Romans through to Philemon, and Hebrews, and then you have Revelation. And this matches the philosophy behind this text, which, as we see when we open to this preface, is to ensure that each feature of this text is clear and manifest in early manuscripts. So whenever you're in the text, you can be certain that you're seeing readings that existed before the end of the 5th century. Now, Revelation's a bit of a different story because of the more limited manuscript tradition. But if you think that textual philosophy is valuable, then this is a text worth looking at. And what's nice about this edition itself is that it has this really gorgeous off-white paper. It has this awesomely readable font, and it looks so simple and elegant. And it's notable that because of this beautiful thick paper, there's virtually no ghosting. The focus is on the text. That's what's great about this text block. Everything is about reading the text. And as you read the text, you're reading this very clear, very simple and clean 10-point font, which looks great. Now, even so, as you can see here, we do have a textual apparatus, and this gives us a bit of information about which manuscripts the body text follows when there are major variants between the manuscripts. So if you see here, we see Jesu is the main variant in the text. In Romans 16:20, we look for Jesu, and then we see it here, and then you can tell, well, this agrees with P46 and Codex Sinaiticus and Codex Vaticanus, these ancient manuscripts. And then you look to the side and you'll see that we have this alternate reading which appears in a series of other texts. And that could be useful information depending on your needs, although there is nothing in the text pointing you to that, which is one of the limitations. It's all about reading the text. Now we get to the back here, and you'll see we have this introduction, which is a little bit weird, but it really goes in depth into the features of the text or the philosophy behind the text into quite a lot of detail, over 20 pages. And it tells you all about even specific decisions that were made that are different to alternate editions of the Greek New Testament. Then finally here we have a list of the witnesses, that is to say the major manuscripts cited throughout the text in making textual decisions. We have the papyri here, then we have the major unsealed texts and then some minuscules. And this tells us about where the information that went into the creation of this text comes from. So we actually have, if we look to the apparatus itself, you can find, say, this Aleph here. What does that represent? Well, if you look to the back here, you can see that Aleph represents Codex Sinaiticus, which is in London and is from the 4th century. And then finally we have a couple of additional witnesses cited at the end. Then we go on to some simple acknowledgements, and after that we will see a bunch of blank paper, which can be used for writing notes, and I'm sure the paper will hold up given how thick it is. Now we have this sticker here, and it's not very nice, but I can't get it off, so just gotta live with that. We come to the end of the book, we see the same liner that we had at the front, and then finally we come to the back cover. And there you have it. Now, as I've said, I don't really like this cover. You can be the decision of whether it looks good or not, but I don't think it feels very good at all. And as I've said, I'm going to rebind this. If you're not, I would consider the alternate releases in leather from Cambridge. So there you have it, a really beautiful text block, one of the best Greek New Testament text blocks I've ever seen. It looks beautiful, it's wonderful to read, and it comes in a really terrible cover. So, there you go. If you're going to rebind it, then this is great. If not, look elsewhere. The Greek New Testament